When directing a film, I've observed that the most difficult thing to do on set is to convince someone to do something in a different way, a way that we haven't seen before that's beyond the cliché or the obvious. I think that's because when we stay in a safe little bubble of conventionality, we know we won't be criticized. We won't be stepping outside of the box and therefore bringing attention to ourselves. Yet throughout the history of art, many of the greatest creators were those who did step outside the box, tried something different and unique, and were usually criticized for it. Now, as unpleasant and unrewarding as criticism may be, it was these artists who moved their form forward, and they did so by experimenting, listening to their inner voice and not just doing what everyone else was doing. But more and more in the films I watch, from student shorts to big Hollywood features, I see what I call a decline in the authorial voice, a reluctance to give the director or writer a specific style with unifying traits that define them. Now, there's still an old guard of directors who usually started out in the 90s whose work does have a very recognizable voice. People like Wes Anderson, Quentin Tarantino, the Coen brothers, Paul Thomas Anderson all have a very specific and recognizable style. But my main concern is, what about the next generation of filmmakers? Recently, even in good movies and TV shows, there's been an effort to hide the voice of the director and make the work feel almost anonymous, fit into a formula set by the series or studio. And furthermore, who is the next Wes Anderson or Quentin Tarantino, and why aren't we seeing their films in theaters? Well, I think there's a reason for that. These type of filmmakers are no longer financially viable. In the 70s, with the birth of the auteur method of filmmaking, whereby directors were treated like authors of their film and even given a bit of celebrity, audiences were hungry for the latest work from filmmakers like Woody Allen, Martin Scorsese, or Ingmar Bergman, giving these directors the freedom to experiment and try new things with their work. But by the late 70s and early 80s, this type of film had lost its popularity, and it became the age of big-budget blockbusters, arguably the age we're still living in. Big studios no longer want to take chances on stories that may not sell, and it's not financially viable to invest millions of dollars into a film just to allow the director to experiment. This has created an industry where no one wants to take a risk, since playing it safe will presumably guarantee that they'll make more money. But that's not always the case. Look at a film like Deadpool. The studios hated that movie and thought it was going to be a flop until Ryan Reynolds illegally shared some clips online, which generated excitement from the audience. Or Game of Thrones, which is based on the concept of breaking down genre conventions. But what does this mean for filmmakers with a specific voice or an unusual story to tell? Well, on the positive side, we're sure to get a lot less of those wanky, pretentious art house films. Like, as much as I love David Bowie, Nicholas Roeg's The Man Who Fell to Earth is the worst type of art film I can imagine.
Mary Lou, help me!
Like, if you think artsy equals good, watch this film.
Where are you taking me?
But on the negative side, I'd argue that we need these kind of experimenters, because if filmmaking is also art and not just entertainment, then they push the form forward. They challenge and provoke us, and if we don't give them the means to create content, then we'll find ourselves in a garbage heap of a culture. Hey, if you like this video, please be sure to subscribe to my channel, Passailaigue Productions. Also follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and check out my Patreon page. But what do you think? Is experimentation dead? Would you like to see more original voices in your media? Do you think the auteur theory is bullshit? Leave a comment and let me know what you think.